control sometimes with fights and stuff. How do you prepare for that? How do you handle it, you and Kevin? And you guys haven't had anything, I think, so far in camp, any kind of fights. Do you talk to the team before camp starts, or you just kind of assume they're going to know how to handle that?
Yeah, no, everything we do is discussed. How we practice, the expectations of practice, when we have pads on, when we don't have pads on, how the safety should play, how the running backs and the linebackers collision should go, how a slice block can go. So all those things are discussed. And you do that, so you try to avoid that as much as you can. And then anytime, now granted, you have a lot of plays at practice, and every once in a while, guys on the ground that you don't want or whatever the situation may be, you address it. And, that's a positive thing that Kevin and I have worked together on this before, have the same types of expectations. Our expectation is to go out there and get good work at practice. And, not to say that there's not things here and there, but our expectation is to go get good work at practice, and you can't do that when you're fighting. So we work at that together, and I'm always appreciative of Kevin and his staff with the Browns to be able to do that. And, that's why we continue to practice against the Browns.
Nick, I know preseason games are great for really looking at the young guys especially, but in the joint practice, do you feel like that's just as good a work to get your starters ready for the season as maybe a preseason game?
Yeah, I think that, the only difference, is that you're not tackling live to the ground in practice. That no matter if you're playing against the Browns or you're going against yourself, that's the main difference because everyone else is pretty much full go when you have full pads on. And so that's what we try to do at all times is make practice as game-like as possible. That's the reason for situational football that we do. When I get on the loudspeaker in the middle of practice, and that's the same thing that you're trying to do within practice, with how you practice. And so joint practices are a good way to change it up. But we get a lot of good work when we're out there, by ourselves. Also, I always look at it, how good of work it is for Jalyx Hunt and Nolan Smith to go against Lane Johnson on a daily basis, or Jordan Mailata on a daily basis, and vice versa with Tyler Steen going against Jalen Carter, and Q and A.J. and Devontae going up against each other. So, but big area to be able to evaluate your team against another team, evaluate your players against another team is when you do joint practices.
Several moving pieces in the secondary. What's the benefit in having Reed Blankenship as kind of a steadying force on the back end?
Yeah, Reed obviously is our quarterback back there, helping everybody get lined up and being on the same page. We talk about this an awful lot. Like, the easiest way to give up a big play on defense is to not everybody be on the same page. And Reed has been back there for a while now, and guys trust him to help communicate that. Our coaches trust him. I trust him, and it's an important piece for that secondary to have somebody that can line everybody up and get the calls going.
Nick, you've been around Kevin Alexy for a while now, but when it comes to specifically the last few weeks in training camp, what stood out by his approach in the first few weeks here?
Yeah, again, have been able to be around him for a long time, and that OTAs is treated like training camp as well. Like, you have less time in the building with the guys during that time. So we're going on, not only the 2 weeks there, but also all the time in the off season. There's not a lot of surprises that are happening with Kevin. I know who he is as a coach. I know that he has a good relationship with the players. He's got a great offensive mind. He can be super energetic and he always wants to be there and always is energetic to be there. But then he has this really calm gene about him as well, which I always appreciate. And so, I think he's doing a great job, and look forward to him continuing to grow.
Earlier today, Dallas Goedert was talking about his growth since being a rookie, and he said that you actually helped him a lot in terms of how he's advanced as a pass catcher. Said he was surprised when you showed him Julio Jones tape to progress. What was the perspective that you brought to him that you saw from kind of like bring him in there, and how do you view that position as he's progressed in it?
Yeah, our job as coaches, again, I think you get in, you try to get the best players in here that fit everything, like from a character standpoint, from a toughness standpoint, from a talent standpoint. And then our job as coaches is to develop these players. It's just always been that, quarterbacks, receivers, pass catchers, and, tight ends, running backs has always been an area that I've worked with. So I appreciate that compliment. But that's my job, is to try to get these guys to another level that maybe they couldn't reach on their own, right? And so, like I said, development of players, that's something I learned from Larry Karras a very, very long time ago. Recruit, retain, develop. Now, and that was always what he would say to us as young coaches. And he would always tell us, after every play, there's something to be learned, good or bad. Make sure you have a coaching point for them after every play. And so that just develops, and you're just trying to get them to play as best fundamentally as you possibly can, whether that's tackling, whether that's block destruction, whether that's catching a pass, whether that's getting out of a break, whether that's how you set up a guy in a route. And so that's our job as coaches, is to put them in positions to succeed and develop them fundamentally. As far as the Julio Jones tape, receivers can learn things from tight ends. I've shown our receivers a corner route that Antonio Gates has run, and I know I've shown our tight ends routes that Julio Jones has run. And so, that's something I've been developing for a very long time. Is I used to, when I played college football, I used to tape games and wait for the receiver corner solo shot just so I could study those. And so I've been gathering those for 20 some years now, and there's so many good opportunities to teach from that. And so, it may not be the exact same route, but maybe Julio did something at the top of the route, whatever that Dallas can pertain to a route that he's running. And so the best way, I think, to coach is you got to show them. Like, we can talk about things until we're blue in the face, but the picture, the visual of the tape or the whatever it is brings those things to life. And I think that's when you can see that and add that element into your game as is.
Your assessment of Kyle McCord's performance so far?
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job. Third quarterback during training camp, they don't get, with him and DTR, they don't get as many reps as Tanner and as Jalen, right? And Jalen gets more reps than Tanner, and Tanner gets more reps than them, and we're splitting the reps with those two guys. So we've had to find creative ways to try to get them reps not in practice. And Scott is doing, and Kevin and Parks, Frazier, they're all doing a very good job of trying to simulate that as much as possible. But, when we're in practice, Kyle does a very good job of knowing where to go with the football quickly and delivering accurate throws. I think that's something that he excels at, his mind of how he processes through it, and then his ability to be accurate. And you just want to continue to just put him in as many situations and reps as you can when reps aren't always available.
Creative ways that you've tried to.
Yeah, I don't really want to get too much into that, but there's you're just trying to put them in situations while they're not on the field, because again, you only have so many receivers to run routes. But I won't give away that information. I wouldn't want anyone else copying it. I'm sure other teams do certain things like that. But our job is to find. My job as a head coach is always to provide opportunity for these guys to go out there, and so we can see what they can do. And so it's just another opportunity. It's just another thing we do to give them an opportunity.
Reps. Darius Cooper got some more second-team reps, even some first-team reps. Now, A.J.'s hurt, obviously, but what's that process like? You went through it with Reed. You just talked about Reed, undrafted guy. When do you, as a staff, say, all right, we want to look at this guy closer with the second team or first team?
Yeah, every practice, every rep is evaluated. So if you see a guy in there with the ones that, or with the twos that you kind of thought was a three, or with the ones that you thought was a two, that guy's earned those reps. We're just not throwing him in there if he hasn't earned it. And I think he's done a nice job earning some of those reps in there with those guys. And so you do that and you see that and you discuss that. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that Howie and I are not discussing the roster in his office. And there's not an off day that goes by where we're not having a staff meeting discussing everything. And so, That's just part of the evaluation process. Hey, who's earning, this battle right here? Who's winning this battle? Okay, who's earned more reps with the ones? How much is this guy going to play there? It's just all things that you discuss on a daily basis, just part of our process.
Got time for 2 more, please? Following up on kind of the quarterback question, what do you see from DTR so far? I mean, he obviously got a decent amount of playing time Thursday night and everything. What do you like about what he's done?
Yeah, pretty much those guys have split reps. One day Kyle goes in with the threes first, and one day DTR does, and so they're both doing a good job. I think they both had similar amount of plays in the game. I think they both had 2 series in that game the other night, and so he's done a nice job. You can tell. He's played football before. He does a nice job going to the right place with the football consistently, and I think he does a good job of extending plays. So they both have unique abilities that you love to work with and out of a quarterback.
What's the reason for the way you guys have split those reps with a third-team quarterback, like one guy going out to start a period and then the other guy finishing, instead of letting them just take a period?
Yeah, just the way we're doing it.